Hello, welcome to Trekkie and Beyond, a Star Trek podcast. This is season 1 mission review. I'm Monika.
And I'm Andrea. And welcome everyone to the season 1 review of Star Trek Discovery. And today we have a guest host with us. So please welcome fellow Star Trek fan, Celeste.
Hello, everyone. I feel so honored to be here today. I'm a little older than Andrea and Monika, so I came up with the original Star Trek. And so, I just remember how much fun it was as a studio scenes and props that looked so real to me as a kid that now I look back and I just laugh up a storm. So thank you for having me.
Well, it is no problem. We are very happy to have you. So for this episode, it's going to be a little bit different than what we normally do. Each one of us, we're going to share our top 3 standout moments or observations or themes from this season. So Celeste, as our guest, let's get us started. What was your reaction to season 1?
The moral code of the Federation is strong throughout every iteration of Star Trek. And it was a slippery slope for me. Even Michael, who always wants to do the right thing, I have never seen anyone really buck, authority to that extent. And then, it just seemed like people weren't really holding tight to the credo, and that concerned me. But my friend who told me to watch it kept telling me, just stick with it. Just stick with it. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And he did not tell a fib. I loved it. I loved all the twists and turns. I especially loved, seeing a sister girl up there as the lead character, because Uhura, that was like, she was a bridge captain. So she just sat down every episode, basically. And, yes, captain, no captain, but I really loved the way we got to see who she was. I love the fact she was actually a surrogate daughter to Spock. That was a big plus for me. A surrogate sister to Spock. And I'm like, because throughout the episodes, Spock is like this, the stoic kind of person, next to Captain Kirk. And just to see that humanized him more for me. Having a human sister, the dysfunctional dynamics of the relationship as she talked about it, and dealing with her past and, not having her parents there. I loved it. I mean, oh my God, the mirror world, you cannot top the mirror world. So it was just so many twists and turns, and who was bad, who was good. But I guess the biggest, when I think of surprise to me and shock to me, was finding out that Ash was really Vogue. That, boom, that blew my mind. That blew my mind totally. So, and I'm a sucker for love stories. So I love the fact that she and Ash were like romantically, attracted to each other. And, so everything was just, once you got into it and once it started moving, you could not take your eyes away from it. Spore travel, Mira Giorgio, a badass, I just want to be her when I grow up, so it was just awesome. I just loved it. I really did.
Well, I'm glad. Monika, what were your reactions to this season?
Similar to Celeste, I was excited to see a separation, a deviation away from like lots of single episodes to like a longer saga. And I feel like even the ones that I didn't really like was still connected to the bigger story compared to the original Star Trek, Next Generation. I mean, they had a few like to be continued. They had a few connected episodes, but most of them were freestanding. And this was like just a space opera, like with romance and ethical dilemmas, military drama and action. And I'm excited to continue this discussion and looking forward to watching more Discovery.
Okay. And then so for me, this episode, because I'm like the evil person, as some people will tell me, so many ups and downs. Not anyone on this podcast, people, but so many ups and downs this season. There are a lot of lessons learned, and there are hills that I will die on. As you guys know from the earlier episodes, I still don't believe Michael should have been court-martialed the way she was. Like, no, she was trying to save y'all butts, people. I know she was wrong, but again, still, hill that I would die on. But it was a good first season. Again, I like that how almost every episode was sort of connected. So I don't know if the rest of the season or the rest of the other seasons are going to be like this, but it was nice that there was one cohesive story, just so that way it made you want to come back. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people probably did come back in the very beginning, was because it wasn't like a different storyline each episode. They were all cohesive. They were all together. So that way, if you wanted to know how did this war with the Klingons ended, you had to watch every episode to get there. I will need Michael to make more decisions with her brain. I didn't like how every time she made a decision with her heart, it went wrong, and I need her to stop doing that. But I did also like to see the growth within her, where she can feel like she could use her emotions, but just not let it overpower her like she has. So good first season. I'm very happy I watched it. There were some episodes that I'm just like, we can just delete that from history, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. So as we transition to the next part of this episode, Monika, what is your first favorite memory or observation or standout moments observation from season 1?
My favorite moments, the special gift that Mira Georgiou gave to Michael. And then also Michael gave a special gift to Lorca. So all of these special gifts, which are really like just awful. Eating a Kelpie in 10 mil. So that was just awful. But that was a memorable moment for me, because at first I was like, I don't think I got that right. I had to rewatch that, because it was like a complete disbelief that it would go to that level. But in the mirror universe, anything goes. And unfortunately, Saru's people are enslaved, and a special treat during dinner. Awful. But on the bright side, I really liked also seeing Ripper go free, and quite sure what they were going to do with Ripper and all of the special talents available with the spore drive, and how much they are going to continue to test and experiment, trade, and the fact that other ships were looking for Ripper. I wasn't quite sure where that was going to go, but to see Ripper go free was a special touching moment for me. It was like Free Willy, and I was like, fly away. Kill you. A few minutes ago to that scene where he went free, he was curled up in a ball, and so yeah, just to see him come back alive again. What about the two of you? Any special moments?
Special moments. I do have to say, the whole spore drive thing was something very, very odd to me, because I had always saw, Star Trek and the Federation on a whole, it's, these light years away, and the technology and all of that. The fact that they needed a spore drive was kind of shocking to me, even though I know it was, some new technology that they just came upon, but it was, I found it kind of annoying. It took someone to actually, what's the doctor's name? Paul.
Engineer.
It took Paul, yes, for him to, actually make the spore drive work. The fact that they were scooting all around, it was basically, instead of, it's really time travel. That's really all it was, was time travel. And that's something that I wasn't really that familiar with in regards to, and you guys seen some of the Star Trek shows that I didn't really look at. So the whole time travel thing, which always creeps me out in all my sci-fi stuff, because I can't keep up. I don't know what to do when I find myself on the other side. You know, does that, you know, because it's like the butterfly effect, you know, is it going to change something? But Paul saw himself, you know, and interacted with himself, which everyone knows in time travel, that's a no-no. You know, the key is to never encounter yourself in time travel. It changes too much stuff, you know. So for me, you know, that was really different, and I could have kind of did without it, but you know, it worked in the scheme of things, you know, somewhere along the line. But it was one of the things I kind of could have done without.
Understandable, very understandable. I'm with Monika when it comes to the Kelpian ganglia. Because I also love no, because I was very shocked, because like Saru and I haven't been best friends this season, but even to see a Kelpian, like, to show the threat, like, it was just such the wording of the way she did it. She fed it to her, and like that's the part that makes them realize danger. And she fed her the part that says you should realize you're in danger, because I'm feeding you the thing that they use to like sense danger. That was like such a
cannibalism.
It was like, this was I'm making you eat this, but I'm also letting you know you're in danger. And it's like that just double entendre of that food was just, I like that moment.
Also, Michael picked out the Kelpie.
Yeah, she thought she was getting another slave. I'm pretty sure she thought she was going to get like another slave, and to find out that she was eating him was like, oh, well, I'm glad she didn't pick the one. She didn't pick our Saru of the Mary universe.
I know. One of my favorite standout moments. It was kind of, I mean, for me, I did love the relationship. Even though Michael had this longing for a mother, I loved the relationship with her and Giorgio. You know, her world, Giorgio, and then it rolled over to the mirror, Giorgio. And even though they were all different, there was that common thread of love there, you know, and that need for Giorgio to still protect Michael, even though Mirror Michael betrayed her, you know, by falling in love with Lorca, and they were going to try to dethrone her. But she still had this motherly thing for Michael, and their relationship, no matter how dysfunctional it was very real and very tangent to me. And I really did, and you know, I like that. I mean, you know, and I think I would have liked, because we didn't get a lot of real world Giorgio. You know, the night we got to really get to know badass Giorgio, who don't take names in prison. She just like, I'm here. But what she had for Michael was real. That's real. It was very, very real. And she would protect her with her life, no matter what. Even when she was the rudest, the most tactless, no filter, and how she treated everyone else. But her goal was always to protect Michael. And for someone like myself, who've had lifelong friendships and things like that, I always loved the girl power connection, you know. So I really did. That was one of the things for me that I enjoyed watching, you know, as this went along. You know, that she did not lose her mother figure. Even when she lost her, she didn't lose her.
Michael just had a big character journey and arc in this storyline, to finally learn about her parents passing and how that instilled fear and anger, hatred towards the Klingons, really sparked the Battle of the Binary Stars. Lots of other decisions that she made along the way as well, because she wouldn't have met Sarek, and maybe her trajectory and her career would have been different as well. But to see like this gritty side of war, and we're not used to seeing that in other episodes and other series, like really like the mining to get the dilithium crystals, the like what happens to orphans, and like there's just so much fear and hatred and just misunderstanding, and it just keeps going on and on.
Which to me really matched the world we're living in today in regards to, I mean, to me, Star Trek was always about our differences aren't that different. And when you walk in a ship and you walk into the bar in the starship, you will see every kind of planetary species there is talking, getting along, singing, and to me, it always represented, what the world should be, in regards to no matter race, creed, color, where you come from, we all have a commonality. And so for me, that's what Star Trek has always meant to me, though.
Agreed. So I'm going to start off on a downer. My memorable moment is the worst episode, the episode that I hated the most. And I like literally watching it was like I wanted to pull my eyes out of my head because I was so mad at everything in this episode. Episode 7, Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Basically, the one where Harry Mudd is there and keeps him going in that time loop.
I hate Mudd. I hated
that episode because everything else aside, everything else they made Michael admit that she was never in love, made her seem like this lovesick puppy for Ash, made her seem so weak, whatever, when it came to a man, whatever. Mudd killed them like 100 times and got to marry the rich girl. Yeah. I will never, ever, ever be okay with that. He killed them. Literally hundreds of times, to the point where Paul, who was like ingesting sugar and coffee all the time to be hyperactive or whatever, was like, I am tired of dying. Like, no, this episode, if I was Paul, I just would have shot him in the head at the end of it in front of Stella. Like, you know what, Pop, because you killed me 100 times.
But can we look at the bright side? So the bright side of that was what they did this season was they did keep one story continuously moving, but they were also able to throw in some stupidity. You know what I'm saying? With the Mudd episode and a couple other things that I thought didn't really help the main storyline. But I guess that was their way, Monika, like you said, in the past, it was like each episode was a different story. So I guess maybe somewhere along the line, someone didn't feel comfortable with just keeping that same theme throughout. So they had to throw in some foolishness.
Well, I also think Mudd was fan service because let's face it, this Discovery series is a lot different than the other Star Trek series. So let's add some Easter eggs to connect to the all of the Star Trek fans across the world.
Okay, guys. So we've gone through the first memorable moments, worst episodes, or just observations from season 1, and now we each have 2 left. So
I noticed some running themes, something that we all deal with at some point in time in our life, and that's grief or fear. And in some cases, there's redemption. But those are the 3 big themes that I noticed in this episode. And just to give a little context, I noticed that, like, regardless of if it's in this universe or in the mirror universe, 23rd century humans, no matter where, are encountering the same struggles that we're encountering with fear and grief and revenge and a need for control. And so it's interesting to see that. It even goes to show that no matter if there's advances in science and technology, we still haven't evolved and resolved in emotional intelligence to persevere and think before we leap, like in Michael's case a lot. Emotional intelligence is tough. And over these centuries, it's still not answered. And it's not sometimes logical, and you can't write a computer program to implement it or generate a robot to make these tough decisions. It's just a reoccurring theme that I saw in many aspects from Michael's kind of origin story and her story of like overcoming her fear of Klingons and grieving for her parents, Battle of the Binary Stars all started really because the Klingons were grieving the loss of one of their kin, and Michael interrupted their grieving process, and so they went crazy because of that.
Interrupted by accident.
There was also the grieving for all the people that were lost in the USS Glenn, the Shenzhou, within this time. And then there was that party with Mud because they were like trying to deal with all these frustrations. And the list goes on and on. One more. Laurel was grieving to the point in which she like Frankenstein Ash so that he had a hybrid of Bulk within him. So
I mean,
there's a lot of that was taking place, and there's a difference between the grief and grieving, and it showed true grieving within and how people are struggling with coming terms to that, to the point in which they're making bad decisions. Yeah. Sorry, that's a downer. What did you all think about?
I can definitely agree with that. I can definitely agree that grief is a definite theme in here, because we even see the Admiral through her grief of losing the 80,000 Starfleet people to 247 Klingons, because that's just embarrassing. Sorry to the rest in peace people. But it was she was willing to then forget all of her Starfleet training to commit the same exact genocide to the Klingons. And it was just like, that's not who Starfleet is. I mean, granted, you would win more wars if you were like that, Starfleet, just saying, but that's not who they were. And we saw that grief drove her to that, because she was just in disbelief and she was going through the stages. And at that point, she was in anger. And she just wanted to hurt them back as much as she was hurting. So no, I definitely agree with you. Definitely agree.
No, I do. And you know, what's so funny is, which is really good, as long as man with all his ego, greed, and everything else that he has is still writing this crap, it's going to always be a part of it, because it's what we know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, even for those of us, whatever you believe or whoever you believe in, but if you go back to the Bible, these are the same tenets that holds true today, of man and his greed, and how he masks it in the need for a greater need or a greater purpose, when it holds no greater purpose, only to one's ego or one's own agenda. You know, so but I do hope, Monika, that somewhere far out in the galaxy, some life form has overcome. And I know what you're saying, because, you know, it's just things that we see in our day-to-day life too, you know. And I sit here, you know, depending on where one's mindset is, what one's belief system is, some things, you know, for all of us, some things you're like, all right, go ahead, who cares? And some things are just horrific, you know, based on where you stand. So, but I think when it comes to power, money, unfortunately, man will always disappoint in fiction and in reality.
That is very true. But I think that's a good segue into what your theme was for this episode, Celeste.
Conspiracy, betrayal, and loyalty. Michael moves off of loyalty on a constant, to her own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to say, for the people she loves, because she sees everyone on that ship as a part of her family. So she'll risk her life, she'll risk her reputation, her career, everything, when as a commander, because it goes back to what you were saying, Sierra, in the beginning, you just wish she didn't move off emotion. It really is an emotion. I think it's more so based in her origin story of feeling abandoned by her parents. And I think that drives her. And even though, you know, she became part of a family, she was still always an outsider within that family. So I think this is the closest thing she's ever had to a family, and that drives her. So her love and her loyalty to them rises above, thinking of what about this? What about that? The betrayal. So she winds up at times coming out a bad guy for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hill I will die on, people. The hill that I will die
on. And for Saru has felt betrayed by her,
Monika.
Because Saru is strictly by the book. So as much as he loves Michael, he throwing the brink in a heartbeat, because it goes against, what he thinks is right. So yeah, so to me, everything was about the conspiracies of people from the mirror world not knowing who had crossed over, trying to get back, to Michael's loyalty to all this betrayal. And that's how I saw the first season. It was just wrapped in all of that.
Anything to add, Monika? I think I heard you I think I saw you wanted to say something.
That Michael is deeply engulfed in loyalty, but she used the Vulcan pinch to take Giorgio, make her unconscious, like send her unconscious, so that she could command a U.S. actually, I think it was Descendu at that time.
It was Descendu.
And to take command of the ship. And I think that was just a strange, change in events. And maybe it's because she was more loyal to Sarek, but it seemed like she had a tight bond with Giorgio to take her out like that. That was just wrong. No, I
can agree
Michael
with that.
Can be the end justifies the means kind of person, which isn't always the right way.
Of the season. That's definitely who she is at the beginning of the season. She is, in her mind, she was seeing her still being loyal to Giorgio, because in her mind, what she was doing was to overall save them, not to take over, to basically like surrender. But hey, like, people who have been in this situation are telling me what to do. I'm going to listen to them because they know what to do. I'm sorry, like, I'm still loyal to you, but you're not making the right decision. And at that point,
her narcissism is her fault.
And so it was like almost like a betrayal to be loyal. And it was like, she doesn't make smart decisions. And even that's the theme this whole season as well. She just doesn't make smart decisions for being a Vulcan, supposed to be so smart. But
she was adopted by Vulcans. Exactly. She adopted whatever she could, but at the end of the day, she is no Vulcan. And she has a narcissistic personality in some ways, not to the point where you hate her, but there is some narcissism in this. I think this is right, so this is right.
I can see her like that, yeah. I can definitely see her
I don't care what you say or what you say. So when Michael thinks something is right, she can't hear anything else. And that's not a good look for her.
You're very right. You're very right. So we're going to go into my special moment now, or observation or thing from season 1. Mine is the best shock that I got from this season. And I mean, like, the jaw dropper. I had to rewatch this because I was like, what are you saying? This doesn't make sense of the season. And for me, that was finding out that Lorca was from the Mirror Universe originally. I did not see that coming at all whatsoever. And I will say, Monika, you kept like dropping hints, like, it doesn't really seem right that he would do this. I was like, but no, like, why would he randomly go to a Mirror Universe? Like, no, like, he didn't mean to do that. He was trying to do something else. And how literally every single dot of everything that we were like, I don't know why he's doing that. Oh, is he trying to like talk?
Making Michael out, making like, Michael get the whole thing.
Everything was to get him back to the Mirror Universe, and to find out not even from him, but for Michael to figure out by seeing the way Giorgio reacted to light, and it's like, that's the one difference between our universe and my universe and yours, is our affection, our sensitivity to light. And I was like, no. That to me was the best plot twist. That was the best.
For sure.
Like, he always set it up to where, you couldn't really trust him. You couldn't really fully trust him. And you're like, okay, for him, he was very much the ends justify the means. And he was very much, I'm going to do what I need to do to get to the result that I want. And the result always sort of works out in Starfleet's favor. But it's like, did you really have to do what you did to get there? And it also explains why he didn't really trust Saru so much, because he didn't like, and oh my gosh, there's so much that's unlocking in my head right
because
now.
he was so below him. Right,
That's why he
because for
didn't like
him,
confide in him.
you're the gum on my shoe in my world. You know what I'm saying? I eat you. So
like that to me was the biggest shock of season 1, was just that, because I could not. There was nothing that would have prepared me to believe he was from the mirror universe. Like trying to get there to steal from them, whatever, but to be exactly from there, I was very shocked.
And
Like,
that
But
goes
he
back
was
to
in
what I
this for the long game. Like he was been plotting this
Oh
for
my God,
266
yes.
days to get
You
to
know
that point.
It's like you're focusing on other things, and you're right. He had the long game. He was the reason in the beginning I kept saying, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because no Starfleet captain acts like this. In any Star Trek I've ever seen, they are the most upstanding people, you know, the most with the moral code. And I'm like, this dude is a gangster. he would cut corners, and he would say, all right, let's do it. And I was like, something, but we all knew, we have to admit, we all knew something was not right with him.
Something was up.
We just didn't know. But you're right, Monika, the long game. I could not have said it better.
Everyone else is playing checkers. And he's playing chess.
Yes.
Could not think of the word. I'm sorry, people. So let's go ahead and get on to the last memorable moments from each of us. So Monika, what was your third memorable moment of season, or observation, what have you, from season 1?
So, who's Michael's tether? Like who is she supposed to be connected to? And I really think now, based on the season finale, that is Amanda and Sarek, who helped raise her, that adopted her to balance both the human side of her as well as her Vulcan logic that she sometimes uses for science and sometimes she doesn't. But they are the ones that helped instill some ethical balance within her. And I was wondering what you two thought about Michael's tether as well. There's a lot of people that helped her along this journey.
Well, this is a good segue to what Celeste's third one is as well. So Celeste, how about you answer her, and then I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, because for me, I think her tether is her moral code, her need to do the right thing in any situation. She sees everyone, you know, as her family, but it's not that. She could have a ship full of strangers, and if she thought, she would risk her life to save every one of them. So to me, her tether is just that need to save, to do the right thing. And I think we saw that theme throughout everything she did. I mean, she loves Tilly. Tilly, frankly, gets on my nerve, but yes, I said it.
I love Tilly.
It needs too much reassurance for me. It drives me cray-cray. So I don't dislike Tilly, but yeah, she's annoying though. She's that annoying friend. You love her, but she gets on your nerve. But Michael just no matter what, she'll go against every person who she truly loves, who'll tell her what she's doing wrong. If she believes that this is going to save everybody, this is right. So I still go back to her moral code and her need to do the right thing. I think that tethers her to everything.
So I sort of think you're both right, but at different moments within the show. I definitely believe in the very beginning, I believe her tether is her moral code. Like she believes what she believes is right. But then as the season goes on, and then we see more of the history and more of the story behind her and Sarek and her and Amanda, and to see how much they actually mean to her, I think she had to grow into them being her, like accepting them as her tether. Because when it came down to it, she sort of went back to what they taught her emotionally to sort of move forward. And like I liked how the last episode she was with her mother again, and her father Sarek was the one to tell her she was reinstated. So I think you're both right, but at different points, because in the beginning you definitely see she's used her more like, I think this is right, so I'm doing this. But then we see when Sarek is in trouble, she drops everything. It's like, I got to get to him because I can't without him. I can't be without him. Basically, that's
Right.
my
Then
father.
that familial thing comes in, and she has to, she's just a daughter trying to save her
Save her
dad.
dad. So I definitely think you guys are both right, but like at different points in the season. And more to the point of like what she's realizing or what she is aware of what her tether is at a certain point. So moving on to the last topic of what have you from season 1 of the most memorable items. For mine is the best moment that I thought happened in this season of Star Trek Discovery. And I have to say, I liked at the very end, the last episode, when Michael stood up to the Admiral and told them that we're not doing this. We're not bombing Kronos. And basically said, I started the season with a mutiny thinking I knew better to basically take over, thinking I knew better. And now I'm going to, if I have to mutiny again to save those lives, basically, I'm going to have to do it. I can't remember the exact quote. It's written down somewhere because I think I said in the last episode. And I was like, that was sort of full circle for her. She did a mutiny in the very first episode because she thought she was right. And now she's doing a mutiny in the last episode, and her crew members are actually with her this time. They're not against her like they were in the first episode. And they all stood up with her and was like, we're going to mutiny with her if you try to do this. And it was just like a full circle moment. They really did close, like, it was like a full loop. They closed the storyline. It was perfect. She learned what she needed to learn. It was a great season. It was a great wrap up, and it showed her growth.
Did she though?
She did learn. For what I know right now, because I've only seen that season 1.
No, I'm just saying that because she's always taking the nuclear approach.
She is. She does. She does not do anything easily. But Monika, did you agree with that statement for that best moment, or did you like that best moment? What do you think?
I agree with you. I think that was the capstone to all of the mutiny charges. Just the fact that this crew feels as though the Admiral stirred them wrong and made Mira Georgiou, the captain, to basically move forward with genocide. And they were like, this is crazy. We object. And they all objected in person, standing. I think that shows their support for not only Michael, but the fact that this Admiral was also just going rogue and not thinking things through. So I like the fact that they had courage enough to do that, because we all know that there's some folks as part of the team that wouldn't do that.
Right.
They're worried about themselves, right? And it possibly, they could have been court-martialed or something like that. But I think it just shows a big change in the prime directive, which was just not followed.
Right. And honestly, I hear everything you guys are saying. So I guess for me, in talking about, that scene, because, I'm 100 Michael all the way, but when I look at it, like, does it seem like it's full circle? But does it seem like Michael learned something, or it's a better moment because people stood behind her than they didn't do it the first time? If I'm making sense, even though it's the right move to make, that's all I'm saying. It was the right move to make because, Starfleet would never.
So I'm only going to say yes because I found the quote, people. Because she said, a year ago, I stood alone. I believed that our survival was more important than our principles. I was wrong. Do we need a mutiny today to prove who we are? And I believe that's how I believe, yes, she grew, because in the first episode of this season, she definitely she went against Starfleet's principles because she wanted to live, basically. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, who doesn't want to live? But this time she knew going against Starfleet's orders to preserve Starfleet's principles, because this wasn't what Starfleet did. And if they went down this path, it was never going to end. They were not going to be who they were anymore. So I definitely see that this was a mutiny of principles versus of like Starfleet principles versus her personal wants.
Well, I do have to say that I do love the fact that this version of Star Trek is because none of the ones in the past that I've watched, mutiny wasn't just on the table all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that they are really playing around with the moral code of things. You know what I'm saying? The right, wrong, sometimes wrong is right, vice versa. And I don't think I've ever seen Star Trek truly play at it in the way they play at it in Discovery in regards to authority, bucking authority like that. It's like, you may not agree with the captain, but when the captain say, I'm on the bridge, it's,
He says jump, you say hi.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
and if it comes out okay, you good. If it doesn't, it's not. So I do love the way they play with the moral dilemmas in this version in ways I've never seen before.
I agree with you. I think she also managed the conflict better in episode 15 versus episode 1 and 2.
Right.
Like, she just wanted to take Giorgio down because Giorgio didn't agree with her so that they could fire first. But this time she talked it out. She met on the bridge with the Admiral Cornwell. It was a discussion in front of everyone. It was not like I'm making a secret decision. And I hope everyone's on board with that. So I think she's learned, hopefully, about conflict management.
Right. And I think,
sorry to cut in. We're getting a little close to the end of this episode. So I wanted to make sure we have enough time to do our wrap-ups. So this is just your final thoughts of what you like the most about Star Trek Discovery so far. So just give us like your one sentence line, because we only have a few minutes left, of what you thought of this season. If you could wrap it up into like a one sentence, what would it be? Who'd like to go first, Celeste?
I'll go first. For me, again, I'll just reiterate what I said before. I love keeping the old format in a way, but really making it different. I love fleshing out the characters in this version in ways was never done in the other version. You knew their names, you knew what their position was, but not who they were. And I like that this version has taken the time to really let us get to know the flaws and the good things about the characters, other than Michael.
Very true, very true. Monika?
I love the diversity, the inclusion, the adoption story, not just representation, but positive representation.
Right.
I'm looking forward to having a non-human or human-like captain. So like different variants, because this is about the universe. And it also goes to show, if you're in a mirror universe or if you're in our universe, your environment helps determine your path forward, not who you look like, what you look like.
For me, I will agree. I did love the diversity. I love that it wasn't a forced diversity. It was a natural one. I love the positive representation. I'll agree with you. And I'll just say, I just hope decisions are thought out better in the future based off of this season.
Stay tuned.
Exactly.
I just hope there's a better trend of decision making based off of this season. So again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that red button, hit subscribe. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Anchor or wherever else podcasts are listened to, go ahead and subscribe so that way you're alerted whenever we post a new episode. So as always, I'm Andrea.
And I'm Monika.
I'm Celeste.
And live long and prosper.
Long and prosper.
Bye.
Bye.